requested?
We do not.
Okay. Then we'll move on to, Shelley, can we have, could you share the agenda, maybe? Is that okay with everybody to just have it up?
Sure.
Or do you want to just do it on your own?
I have my copy in front of me, but we can certainly put it up.
Yeah, let's put it up. I couldn't make a copy because I'm at my daughter's house and she doesn't have a printer, so. Jim, you're cuter than I remember you. That's an adorable picture of the cat.
That would be Lily.
Lily? Oh, she's
Yeah.
really cute.
Yep, she's adorable. Be getting on here video in a second. I was just outside.
No
gonna catch up
problem.
on a little pruning.
That's fine. It is that time. Oh, we've got Ann too. Yay. We have a full house. Okay, so our first order of business is the minutes from last month. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Any, a second? Okay, any discussion, comments, or corrections? Hearing none. All in favor of the minutes as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved.
Just one quick update. Thank you, Sarah, for catching that I have the wrong date on there. I'll make sure that that's corrected before they're posted.
Ah, excellent.
Thanks, Shelley.
Okay. The first thing on our agenda here is the presentation of the energy audit. Bethany, are you going to be able to do that for us?
Yes, I am.
Oh, wonderful.
I apologize for last month. It completely slipped my mind. And also Bill was out on a medical leave. So Bill Riley is our wastewater treatment plant manager, and he's dealing with some medical stuff. So he had asked me to kind of put this together as we are for the update as we are writing our plan for the wastewater treatment plant. So I'm going to share my screen. And I am going to refer to any process questions to him. And I did include his contact information
Great.
for y'all. So the PU2, which is the Pennsylvania Partnership for Energy Efficiency in Wastewater, we had a lot of fun coming up with that acronym. We were part of a 8 wastewater treatment plant cohort that got a really high level, in-depth wastewater plant energy audit. And this was, it's been an almost 2-year process. We started in the fall of 2021. It's also included additional training for staff, wastewater operators, et cetera, as well as peer-to-peer interaction. So we've been able to work together to kind of crowdsource some of our situations and come up with really good solutions. And then with the Department of Environmental Protection, the Energy Office, they're looking to take all of the lessons learned from us and share that out with other similar sized plants across the Commonwealth. I do want to just go through kind of the framework that we're working under. And equity is, of course, at the center. So we're looking to, understand our exposures and assess vulnerability and risks. at the plant, investigate our options to solving, to reducing those risks, working together to prioritize and plan, and then taking action. So the energy audit was the understand exposure, assess vulnerability and risk, and investigate options. Right now, we're in the prioritizing and planning and taking action stages with the plant. So we worked with Practical Energy Solutions, which is a division of Spot, Stevens, and McCoy. And again, we were peer-to-peer with 8 other wastewater treatment plants. Reading was the largest municipality and the largest plant in the cohort. It was funded and supported through the U.S. Department of Energy and then PA DEP. It was a training and technical assistance program at no cost to the city. And I do want to give a shout out to Heather Cowley, who's from the energy office. She was the one who was herding the cats and really keeping us on task and motivated. She did a really great job with it. So one of the biggest things that we came out of doing this program was to really set up what our absolute values are and then what are our goals for the plant. And our absolute value is that the quality of the output must be maintained or improved regardless of any savings potential. We have a cruder saying for that, but basically don't mess with the water. So we're looking to increase the quality of our wastewater product. We're looking to tune the new processes in the plant, reduce any pollutants, both air quality and water pollutants. We're looking to improve our downriver conditions, reduce our operational and energy costs, and then, and of course, increase staff and community safety. So these are the goals in our ongoing plan development. We did take a look at what our flow and electricity monthly averages are. This chart is not my favorite because it makes it look like in 2021 that we were running at 0 million gallons a day, and that's not the case. But we do see seasonality changes that do coincide, but not always, with our flow. This late spring, early summer months, we tend to have higher flow and a little bit lower energy costs than we do in the summertime. Electricity use does go up in the summer, or electricity costs do tend to go up in the summer. And that's when we do seem to have higher flow rates. And we did go through we began by benchmarking our energy bills and process flow rates in the Energy Star Portfolio Manager, which is a free-to-use public benchmarking tool developed by the EPA. Portfolio Manager gives us a score from 1 to 100, 1 being the least efficient among comparative plants, 100 being the most efficient. We did use 3 years of data during our audit, and as of July 2021, our score was 63, meaning that we were more efficient than 63% of our sister plants. And we also scored the highest in the cohort. Kind of the running joke was, this is the only time I've ever accepted a D as a good thing. We have, as you can see on the screen, we have room to go. It is a very feasible and as a goal to qualify as Energy Star certified, which is to score at least a 75. And then during the audit assessment, we found that the wastewater treatment plant produces about 4,300 tons of greenhouse gas emissions annually. So that's a equivalent of 929 passenger vehicles on the road per year, or the amount of carbon sequestered by 5,100 acre forest. It's a good thing we have one. And our auditors toured the plant with Bill and myself last April, and then we calculated the amount of energy used by each item of equipment, each process, and then they made suggestions for practice process equipment changes along with the expected savings. So the plant is relatively new. The oldest equipment in the plant really dates back to about 2018. So at this point, we're not going to be replacing pumps, but we are developing a plan when those things need to be replaced and how they're going to be replaced and what level of equipment we're going to be going with. Something we're looking at right now is finishing out the LED lighting in the plant, getting automatic lighting controls, updating for Energy Star office equipment, and then also thermostat, new thermostat settings, among some others.
Okay.
So as expected, the location analysis did come up with what we thought. The blower building and the digester are the two most expensive parts of the process to operate. And it also helped us with prioritizing what our actions would be. And then again, the pumps and blowers, so this is the different types of equipment, are the most expensive equipment to operate. And so we're working on our next steps. So how do we get from 63 to 75? So we're currently writing an operation and energy efficiency plan, and this will help us document our recommendations, document any steps that have been taken, and prioritizing next steps. They are currently creating a swing zone in the digester area, which will improve process and reduce the blower use. Basically, we won't be aerating the entire tank. We'll be aerating at each end and have a non-aerated area in the middle. They're also getting higher quality dissolved oxygen sensors to improve the process, and we're looking for them to last longer. One of the things that they're constantly having to do is replace sensors. They're also adjusting processes in the solids building to reduce chemical use and energy costs. And basically what they're going to be doing is moving that process to overnight. And that should be starting in June. They're gearing up for it now. They're also changing some of the odor control protocols to include the use of liquid permanganate to reduce the scrubber use. So it's a approved safe methodology to use that will help reduce the energy use that is in the scrubbers. And again, it's a process thing, so I'm going to defer to Bill on process. And then we're developing a set of recommended upgrades and best practices. So overall, it was very good. We were pleasantly surprised. But the wastewater treatment plant is our largest facility to operate. So any way that we can get reduce operational costs is a bonus, but again, not at the detriment of what is going out into the river. And if you have questions, you can contact Bill or I. We would like to invite you all to come down to the plant this summer for a tour. I think it's time. We are officially out of construction. And I think y'all should go down and see what the upgrades look like and appreciate that it no longer smells like rotten eggs.
Yay.
Yeah, so it was a really great process to go through. I think we all got a lot out of it, and found that the upgrades really did help us meet our goals.
Yeah.
It really did a really a really fantastic job. Any
Great.
questions, comments?
I have some questions.
Apps? Okay,
Well,
I will do my
I mean,
best.
Do we have, I mean, how much time do we have in the agenda for this, Kathy?
We have enough for some questions.
Okay, well, first of all, it's good to get sort of a peek into the wastewater treatment plant, all the different components and stuff. So first of all, if I grasp it, it's like we're pretty much down to tweaking because the equipment has been replaced and it's fairly new. So we can't sort of, if it was a heating system, we could pull out a 60% or an 75% efficient boiler and put in a 95% boiler, and boy, we could have a big difference. So we don't.
Correct.
It sounds like we don't have that ability.
Not anymore.
Yeah. So I'm trying to remember what I had 2 or 3 questions as you were talking. But it does sound with this list of, the not aerating the full area, the more higher efficiency sensors that, is getting to 75 doable? Is that the assessment that we can get there?
Yeah, getting to 75 is doable, and we're hoping to be at 75 in 2024. So that will be off of 2023 numbers.
And is it safe to assume that there's a linear relationship between cost and carbon footprint?
Yeah, there's a I don't know if it's quite linear or but yeah, it's at least apples to pears with it. It's not apples to oranges, but it's pretty close. The more we can reduce our kilowatt hours needed to run the plant. And there's some other things that we're looking at too that are going to be more long-term to really look at.
So I think
where we can reduce, where can we improve methane efficiency of the plant? Because there are times where we're still flaring. We're trying to, that's a process that we're looking at really getting tweaked.
both in terms of actual practical improvement, but I guess in terms of our communication with the community about what the city is doing, that 4,300 tons per year. Are there anything to compare that to like 5 years ago, and where we think we can take that 5 years from now, or 3 years ago, or 3 years from now?
I don't know if I can do. We won't be able to do 5 years ago because the plant was running on a different system altogether. So this is really our benchmark, is the 2021 year. For operations. I might be able to take it back to 2019, but again, the plant wasn't fully converted until really 2020 to this process. So it's kind of hard, unfortunately.
But we don't have any sense of the inventory or the energy use previously?
We didn't start auditing and benchmarking our energy bills until 2018.
Okay.
I can go back. I can see if I can go back and dig to run it, the analysis again. But again, the plants are very, very different the way they operate.
Well, but I think that's a good message that,
Yeah.
I mean, my guess is the old plant was a dog and used
It was
lots more electricity and put out lots more pollution.
actually it used less electricity because it was a trickling plant, and now we're doing a activated
okay.
sludge. So we are using more electricity, but we have a much
Okay.
improved output. Yeah. So I mean,
And that's not something I would bother to dig into then.
yeah, it's just because we
If the
did think about
process
it at the
changed, which-
beginning. But the process changed. It's more energy intensive, but the improvement to the water quality is greatly increased. So the dissolved oxygen going into the river at the outfall is usually around 12 milligrams per liter. Before it was at a 5.
Wow.
Yeah, so we've greatly increased the water quality, which was the
Wow.
ultimate goal. Like that is the goal. Like if we're not improving water quality, if we're going to diminish, if we're going to change a process to save energy or money, we can't reduce the output quality.
Okay.
So that's really where
Yeah.
we're at with that.
So Beth,
We do not want letters from the DOJ again.
yeah. So I have two questions. The second
Mhm.
one is related to what you just said. But the first one is, I mean, I have no idea what that 4,300 tons, how that compares. And you don't have to answer this now, but I think maybe, in the communications committee, like how many tons of greenhouse gas emissions are there come out of City Hall or Public Works building?
We haven't done those calculations yet, but there are, so our plant can do about 25 million gallons of process a day. We usually run around 15 to 18 million gallons a day. Other plants that are smaller than ours were in the 6,000 range for emissions a year.
They were 6,000 tons, smaller plants.
Mhm.
maybe
Smaller
more.
plants.
So but I mean, just in terms of the city's contribution to.
Overall,
No,
Carly
we
will
don't have
have-
to answer it now. I think.
Yeah, but when Carly and I did the greenhouse gas inventory, we didn't break it down by operational building yet.
Mhm.
But by sector, wastewater and drinking water, like water processing was a separate category.
Okay.
And that one was one of the lower ones. But as far as an operational building goes, the wastewater treatment plant is the highest.
Above any of the other
Correct.
property. I think it'd just be good for us to know, and for communicating with the community, to give an
Mhm.
indication of where the where our contribution is. The other thing is not related to energy or anything. So does this, now I know for years, and I didn't follow it really closely, but I don't know if it was a consent agreement. I mean, we were under some kind of whatever from the state or the feds that we had to straighten out this plant, and it became, it was a political football for a period there with different mayors and council. We've gone through that now, that's now been taken care of. Shelley, you would know that. Are we like out of the woods in that regard?
I think that we are mostly out of the woods. If I remember correctly, that consent decree also included our collection system, which is not quite finished yet. The plant has now been completed. I think that there are high-ranking officials currently negotiating either a new consent decree or to get out of that one now that we've made as much progress as we have.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's really a pretty positive story, right? I mean,
It
Yeah, it
really
is. And we need,
I mean, we're talking
and
about-
while I'm sure there's been some reporting on it, it would be nice if we can find out whether there's compliance or substantial compliance with the consent decree and make a big splash about it. 'Cause I didn't even realize we'd made all those repairs.
I didn't either. That's kind of.
And we're supposed to be on top of this.
Yeah,
remember when the sewer
That's
bill went up
wonderful.
quite a bit a few years ago?
Yeah,
Yeah. We've spent the money well.
yep, I do.
Yeah.
Well, good.
It's-
But
And that's
people-
one of the reasons why we do want to, perhaps for our June EAC meeting, we can take a field trip.
Yeah, and we really should do something to tell the public that their money's worth, no? I mean,
Right,
we're
right.
all unhappy that the bills went up, but look what happened. We've really created a
Yeah,
pretty modern and efficient plant that's not polluting
Mhm.
nearly as much. It's really almost, it sounds 12 DO is got to be close to state of the art. And that's,
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
trout can live in that.
Yes. That was the point.
Yeah.
We should,
and of course,
we should extract something from Philadelphia for sending them better water.
Yes.
it's a good thing I don't have a camera today.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Bethany. I know
Not a
Yeah, no, that's
problem.
that's
Right,
really
but-
informative. Yeah.
it's really good to know. Because I have known forever that Reading was under consent, consent order to substantially replace the system, and it hadn't happened, and never realized it now has happened. So yay, all of us. Well, not us, but all of everyone that did something about it. Okay, so are there other staff updates that we want to go ahead and do so you can get on to other things? Steve, do you have an update for us?
Yeah, real quick, just a couple things coming up. Everyone probably knows about some of them. We got the Great American Cleanup and Earth Day on April 22nd. And we are
Right.
currently working with the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection to try to track down some of the folks that are illegally dumping tires around the city. And
Okay,
we've also entered into a partnership with Burke's Crime Alert. They're going to be posting signage and offering rewards for illegal dumpers. So those are a couple of things we have going on right now.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you. That's great. Good news. Let's see. Ryan, do you have anything updates for us today?
No updates, but just been getting a lot of good feedback, a lot of volunteers for the Great American Cleanup.
Yep.
Good, yeah.
On
Yeah,
the 22nd. And I have taken 3 bids for the cleanup of the 3 overlooks up on
good.
up on the mountain. So we're going to be discussing that as a team later this week.
Good news. Well, that's some progress. And yeah, I know that we will be, just so you know, Ryan, we will be participating in the Public Works table at the climate action event, or the climate change Earth Day table. So we'll be participating and some of us will be participating in the cleanup as well, I think.
Kathy, I know
Okay,
Ryan has a
so-
report about BCTV as well. I don't know.
I was going to say that. Go ahead, Dave.
No, I didn't know if you were going to get to that, Kathy, under project updates.
Well,
or-
we can do it now and let him go. I was just debating that in my mind, whether,
Okay.
if you want to share how things are going with getting restarted with our BCTV programs.
Yes, it's what our world, our town, our city.
Our city, our world.
Yeah, me and Dave met with the director of BCTV, and we discussed some things. I believe we did talk about April, getting back started again in April. It will be something that will be every month. And for our first 2 shows, we wanted to go with someone from from this committee here, just so I could get used to get a flow, so to speak, of going.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think what Ryan's looking for the first 2 programs is simply, an EAC update. Kind of what's been going on, what's on our plate, what are we working on? An introduction to members of the EAC, what the EAC is all about. And then once those first two programs are under his belt, and Ryan he wants to do these monthly. Historically it's been every other month, but Ryan seems to think there's enough content out there and there's a message that needs to get out, so he wants to do them monthly. And certainly there's enough that we're doing, I think, that we can fill those monthly agendas. And I told him that we're here as a resource. So, to the extent he needs guests on his programs or simply help with identifying topical subjects, certainly we're here to help him do what he needs to do.
Yeah, and we also talked about we can do a live. We can do a live. We can record it. We could do a Zoom. you know, and then have the Zoom ran in that time slot. But well, one suggestion that was made was, you know, and I agree with it, that we do it there at BCTV. So all the tapings or wherever will actually take place there. So.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean we need to actually tape the program at BCTV. I mean, so long as they're taping it virtually, that's fine. The only concerns John raised, he said, you know, if you're using some of your own content and giving it to us, that could present some problems. But, you know, to the extent BCTV is actually doing the recording, whether it's in person or virtual, or even if they're going out to a site, for instance. I mean, if we'd want to do a walkthrough, you know, Bernhardt's, and have somebody from BCTV accompany us on that tour to record part of what we're doing and what we're seeing, it simply works. It's easier for them when they're putting final content together if they're the ones that actually did the recording.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just believe that, you know, we do have a lot going on in our community as far as the environment. I think that there's a lot of content out there that we could bring, you know, to the people of Berks County, you know, in the city of Reading, you know, just with, you know, doing shows like Dave said. You know, we may go live Bernhardt's Dam. We can go up Skyline Drive to Pagoda. You know, it's a lot of content that we can actually bring, you know, to the table.
So, you know, Kathy, with Ryan's approval, one of the things I was thinking about possibly for the first meeting was an update by two of us, and I'm willing to handle the first piece of this, but an update on, you know, number one, what is the EAC? Who are the members of the EAC? You know, what's our mission? You know, the charter, and I can certainly address all of that. But then I think we should also devote part of that first program to what's on our plate. What projects are we working on now? So if there's someone else who'd be willing to partner with me for that first program, we can at least start that discussion, and then we can finish up that discussion during our second program, you know, about what's currently on our agenda and what we're working on.
So I don't know whether we want to sort of obviously one of the big things and the timely things to talk about is the climate action, sustainability and resilience plan that Bethany's hoping to really get moving and get public participation on. And the communications committee has been working on community engagement and outreach and education. So I don't know whether maybe that would be, whether you'd want me or Sarah or some, you know, just somebody to just go through the list of kinds of things that we're doing, or whether you want to just pick up a current one and get into a little more depth about it.
I think that we can, you know, go not go into depth about just one, but just go over all of them, right? And then maybe every other month we can go into depth. You know what I mean?
Okay.
About one or the other. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's just a suggestion for me. That way we're not just putting a little bit out there. We can go in depth, you know what I mean, with the explanation of actually what it is, the topic that we'll be discussing.
Okay. When are we going to tape? April's so busy. I just sort of.
Dave, what Thursday did we say? Because it is Thursday, right?
Yeah, I think it's the last Thursday of the month that it will air, but we don't need to tape. I mean, we can tape whenever.
Whenever, exactly.
Yeah, simply finding a time during the day. And I guess what we need to do, Ryan, I think John said, you know, John has dates throughout the month when they like to tape, so maybe we should get a list of those dates for the EAC here, circulate them, and then people can decide whether they want to be a part of that initial program.
So let me just chime in about process. So there's an online portal that I don't know what John told you, but basically that's what.
No, I have that. He sent that to me.
Yeah, that's what producers are encouraged to use. If you go on bctv.org on the website, and you scroll to the bottom, there's a couple of options, and one says for producers. And it brings you to the whatever it's called, producer scheduling. And then if you click on a date, it'll show you what times are available. It's pretty much every hour in theory is available, but then they get booked by other producers. So it's a little cumbersome because you kind of have to go back and forth between what your availability is and your guest's availability and what's available at BCTV, and you have to book a time, obviously before the program airs. I mean, you could do it anytime before. You could go in the studio for an hour or two and tape 2 or 3 months running if you just want to do that. Although then you lose the timely aspect, but so that's kind of where it starts, and it's done online and it works pretty well. And then it confirms that you can book that slot. The slots are 1 hour long. This program is a half hour, right? The EAC program.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the slots are an hour long. That gives time for setup and kind of getting organized, and even though it's taped as a half-hour program. And I don't know if you're clear. There's no editing. I mean, it's done as if it's live. You get on, you're on camera, your guest's on camera. You go for 28 minutes, and that's it. It's in the can. They don't have staff to edit.
No, he stated that. Yeah, he did.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and how do we do, like, if we wanted to have an image that related to each of the topics that we're working on, would we do a PowerPoint or?
Yeah, I mean, we've done those before where we simply get them to John in advance, and he'll bring them up for us.
Okay.
We're doing the taping virtually, he'll bring them up at the appropriate time.
Yeah.
Okay,
And if Ryan's, I'm sure he is capable, you can do it on your computer. I mean, they set it up, they can make anybody, and if it's done as Zoom, or you can have it on the laptop in the studio and you can control it yourself. I mean, they can work it every which way. The one thing John said to me is that if one person is going to be on Zoom, they prefer that everybody be on Zoom. That I think somehow having somebody in the studio and somebody on Zoom complicates things for them. They can do that, but if not everybody can be in the studio, they prefer to just go Zoom all the way. And I agree. I think if it can be done in the studio, there's something better about that. It makes for a better program, but it also, enhances the use of the studio and gets more people downtown.
The sound quality is better too.
Yeah.
okay, well, it unless somebody else wants to volunteer, it seems that as chair, I feel like I should volunteer to say, to give a summary of all the irons we have in the fire and the things we're particularly working on now and have been working on and will be working on this year. So I'm willing to do that with David if we'd I would just assume you gave the overview, you're so good at it, of the EAC, who we are and why we exist, and the city charter and the state law, and individually who the people are, and that we have all our members now.
If I can do that.
So we can do that. Is Marcia still our council person, Shelley?
Sorry, she is for now, but she is not running for her office again. So her term will expire at the end of this year. So council will start
Okay.
reorganizing. There may be a gap of a month or two until we get our new
Okay. Okay,
Well, if you're suggesting her as a guest, maybe that's a good idea to have her kind of in a way, close the loop on. I mean, as I recall, she was instrumental in having it set up. She may have been the
She
driving
was.
force
She
on
was.
content, so before
yeah,
she,
so I was thinking,
yeah, she might appreciate that gesture.
yeah, maybe we should do that with our first meeting, have it, David and me and Marcia.
You want me to reach out to her? I can reach out to her.
That'd be great.
Yep,
Do you think that makes sense, Ryan?
it makes a lot of sense. Yep.
Yeah, because I think that's one of the nice things, I mean, one of the things that makes the EAC more effective than maybe it should be or could be. But the fact that we get to work with both the administration and council really helps to have everybody know what's going on, and we can
Yep,
get to talk to
yep.
both of them, and they both get to talk to us. And so I think we have really more total government communication about environmental stuff than a lot of other areas, because we have that opportunity to work with both parts of the government. And so I think it would be nice to highlight that on our you know, sort of on our restart of who we are, that the people know that we've got people like you or the working staff for the administration and for all the parts of city government and city services. And but we also have council people that are talking to us and we're talking to. And so I think that is worth highlighting. I like that.
Can I make a recommendation just for you, for the three of you to consider if Marcia's going to be on? What I found with a half-hour program, well, in particular, half hour goes fast.
Really fast.
And with three guests, I mean, it goes faster for some reason. You might want to think about if it's going to be sort of broad, part of the discussion, as you said earlier, is the EAC and what the EAC is about, why it exists, and then talking about some of the specific programs. In a second segment, you could possibly do 2 half-hour segments at the same time in the studio. Reserve 2 hours back to back. You won't use them, but you could set it up. So, I mean, it'd be better, more efficient use of everybody's time. You go in the studio once and you could get 2 programs set up. That's just a thought. Because if you actually really want to say much in detail, that half hour just goes so quickly. Anyway.
It might be a good idea, if it's possible, to make sure that our young public outreach intern people, I want to say Jasmine and Kareem, make sure that they're aware, maybe even involved in this. It's exactly the kind of thing that they could take and cut up into, 40 Instagram posts or whatever. And they might even have some insight as to what sort of things to make sure get emphasized, since we have such a short, that 30 minutes does go by fast and all that. So
I think that's a good idea.
Yes.
Yeah.
The other thing we talked about to that point,
I've been involved.
the logo that's used for the Our City, Our World program has not changed since I joined the EAC, 12 years ago or so. And I know we now have a new logo now. So, maybe it's time to take a look at that and update it.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Would there be an issue with renaming it too, or should we keep that old name? I guess keep the old name so people can find it.
Well, to the extent that name is not reaching a younger audience, I mean, I would be
No.
okay with renaming it. I mean, obviously, those who have known about the EAC and its program for years are going to be comfortable with that old name. But part of our mission here is to reach the next generation. And if we're not accomplishing that with our current setup, then we need to think about changing.
Yeah, absolutely. Jim makes a good point. Bill, any thoughts about how we can wrap the communications, our communications interns into this? And Carly, are you on at the moment?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Any thoughts about how we could best restart and have a fresh approach?
I was just thinking about that because I was actually just talking to my son about all the stuff we talked about earlier. And I was just
Mhm.
thinking how, you know, I'm sitting here in this room full of all these kids and I wonder how much say-so they think they have on what happens on campus. Because I think a lot of times our community members don't realize how much their contribution would create a positive impact if they, told us what they want. But
Right.
to answer your question, so how to kind of like reignite the community, I think when we were talking, like, I think the Instagram, I think that having like a social media and even just hosting more events, I think too, is helpful, because if people don't know what these things are or what they're quote unquote allowed or welcome to, or where they're invited to do things, like some people don't realize that they're part of the community. Maybe, they're like, oh, I'm a renter, I don't really matter much, or something like that, or they don't think that they belong or something, but really they do. So until they understand that, I'm trying to think of ways to kind of like get people to understand that they're welcome to be involved, like come be a part of this, help us do these things. And to take responsibility too, like we were talking about, like some people want to see change, but they want to sit back and watch someone else do the work. And I think that it's important for people to understand that their participation is key to seeing the improvements that they wish to have. Did that at all touch base on what you asked?
Yeah, I think that.
So I will be thinking about that. This is like, this is something that's like really important to me. So I am definitely thinking about it, and what would, I'm trying to think like what would encourage me to show up to any kind of thing, it's like usually food.
Right.
But I was just
We can't do food virtually,
right.
sadly.
I know, right? Yeah, we were allowed to do all Uber Eats or something, but whenever I was just thinking, this is just me and my random thoughts, but whenever I was thinking about the Earth Day event at City Park, right? And what our outreach are, like, how are we getting people to know to come, those kinds of things. And I was thinking, are there particular areas in Reading that people typically venture through on a regular basis? Because I was even thinking of like the day before, like standing somewhere with a sign and being like, come to the city park tomorrow, or like verbally telling people if they're like shopping on the streets or going in and out of like shopping malls, and like saying, hey, we're going to be at City Park tomorrow, can you guys make it, can you come, we really need your input, we want you to check out what we're doing. Like, I mean, is that something that anyone thought of, or is that like something I could do, or what would that be like?
Are you volunteering?
Yeah. But because I know for me, for example, I almost find out after the fact. That's when the news is going to cover it. That's when it's going to be like the data's going to be out about what happened, and this is what happened at the event. And I'll be like, well, damn, I didn't go, I didn't know.
That drives me nuts with like every type of event in the city. I always find out the next day, Reading Eagle
Yeah.
article about what a great event happened yesterday. I'm like,
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, we do have a small PA system. I'm not opposed to having a different kind of preacher at the corner.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
the end is near.
Well, I think this is, this goes back to the whole change in the way a community communicates with itself.
Yeah.
Right.
A decade ago, the paper, maybe it's longer than 10 years ago, but the paper served that function really well in Reading. That's kind of how I stayed informed. now I think Facebook, to the extent that it works, replaces that. But I think that's something that we're wrestling with in communicating, about the resolution, the climate action plan is how do you reach people? And so I think that's a longer, broader discussion. Where are people getting their information? Obviously, Jim isn't getting it.
Right.
So,
I have
So,
another.
so can I say something?
Yeah,
Yeah, so I think we should defer to the younger folk and find out where they get their information, because I don't even think it's Facebook. I think it's,
Oh, yeah.
well,
Yeah.
a division of Facebook, maybe Instagram or something.
Instagram.
No.
Mhm.
So, I think we need to defer to them to find out where they're getting their information.
I also have another, just another thought. Earlier, during another discussion, we talked about that there's a high rate of religious involvement. So maybe that we could correspond with local churches and local community events that they host and like co-share in like, here's our events that are coming out, here's our events, maybe like work with so like kind of like a cross promotion thing, like where in the church bulletin, it would say like, okay, so, the city of Reading is hosting this event, or these are the upcoming dates of different meetings, and like kind of like incorporating that into the local community as far as like them understanding their stewardship, like we spoke of earlier, like kind of like wrapping it around, like here, you're a part of the city, you're coming to church, you're doing your thing, here's what's going on in your city and where they need your help. Would that be something that could be done?
We are getting into really, I think, something the communications committees probably should focus
yeah,
on.
we really
Okay.
should. I mean, there are lots and lots of new ideas that have to be fleshed out and worked on to have an effective communications strategy, and that certainly is part of it. I had a student do a master's thesis on how to get information out about college scholarships available. You'd think that'd be an easy thing. And we ended up going to the churches is one of the ways we got people to, we found somebody who was willing, people who were willing to tell their congregation that there was an opportunity for Reading High School students to get scholarships to college. So it's a really important and good idea, but we really probably need, it's a big picture. And
So I think that's one of the principal agenda items that the communication committees
right.
was dealing with. We kind of and when I get to, if I can give a report later, I'll say a little bit more, but we now are focusing on some specific tasks rather than looking at the big picture. But we can come back to that, Carly. And when we do get to that on the agenda, we could talk about one specific idea that I think has a lot of promise that Stephen has kind of opened up. And I think, we could talk quickly about that too and give a report. But I think this question of communication and how you reach people and how you find out about stuff, really, it's affecting everyone in every which way. I mean, whatever.
Yeah, let's just go to the communicate. If it's all right with everybody, I'd go to the communication update while we're talking about communication. Because of the BCTV program and what Ryan's doing, to bring that back to life. Go ahead, Bill. Why don't we talk about what's been going on in communication committee, and we can add this.
You mean now?
Yeah, let's talk now.
Oh, I feel like I'm hijacking.
Let's just move it up. Yeah.
Well, in terms of the name for the TV program, well, let's put that on the communications committee agenda too, and maybe Carly, Jasmine, and Kareem will right on the spot come up with something great. I mean, I think Jim and Ann are right for a lot of direction. I mean, we don't need to be told that. I mean, I think I'm looking for that generation for leadership, because they know what's going on.
Yeah, they've got to replace the old newspaper with something else we can use.
That's right.
What's important.
So
going on.
So real quickly, we're polishing up the brochure, which will get finalized. The deadline it'll get to the graphic designer deadlines to have something ready for Earth Day. And the brochure is basically it's a brochure about sustainability. It's kind of a everything but the kitchen sink is in there. We used it at RAC at the last event we were at, and a whole bunch of us have been involved in that process. And basically we're getting Earth Day is sort of a target date, and we're getting materials ready for that. The brochure, posters, stuff like that. Anybody who's interested in volunteering for Earth Day, we think we have it covered, but if anybody wants to be at the table from 12 to 6.
I will be there.
Okay, I'm
said
going to,
Carly?
is that Carly?
Yes, Carly,
Oh,
I'll be there.
okay, great.
Oh, okay, awesome.
Yes.
I'm going to send, one of my assignments that I didn't do yet is send out an email to everybody asking if you have an hour or a couple hours that you could cover some of that. Because we'll be tabling with Public Works and other city organizations, and Bethany has some, we'll have tables and we'll have easels and things set up so we can do something like we did at RAC, but with our new brochures to hand out and so forth. So I will send that out so you can sign up to cover.
So, I don't know if Sarah's on, but you weren't at the communications committee meeting, but somebody said you had signed on, but you can disavow that.
No, I would definitely like to be there. I'm only free till about 2 o'clock though.
Okay. all
Okay,
right.
that's
So
good.
Kathy
We're
will send
good.
something out. Yeah, I think we're in
Yeah,
good shape.
we'll
so.
start at about 11. The cleanup is till 12. But there's something at 11 and I have to go back to my notes. So
Yeah, and so real quickly, I mean, we're looking at social media, and it's going back to the earlier discussion. And
Is that the tree planting, Kathy?
right, that's the tree planting. Thank you. Going to be a tree planting, so we'll probably want to participate in that, and then get to the official sort of tabling. Earth Day stuff starts at noon.
All right, is that it for Earth Day? I have just a couple other things to say about the communications
Yeah,
committee.
yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
So
go ahead.
the interns are communicating among themselves, and that's Carly, Jasmine, and Kareem, about the whole social media question that you know, where's the best place to put stuff. They're gonna look at translating the written text for the brochure and some of the other stuff we're producing, translating that into something that will work online. Kareem is going to produce a mock-up of 2 short videos. One will be live action, one will be animated, talking about some of the issues and the questions related to all of this stuff. And we are working on copy for the Sustainable 6. A few of us are writing drafts of that. So that's being developed as a batch of documents that will be able to be used either for background, to pull from for other stuff, distilled into something that can go on the website and be online and available for people to see. So that's developing. We also now have a list of green infrastructure installations around the city. There's something on the order of 50. Who knew? I mean, that includes the LEED buildings, but it includes rain gardens and permeable paving. And so we're distilling that list. And Kathy is leading, and I think Jasmine's going to work with her on developing wording for each of the pins. We had a meeting with Mitch, the webmaster, a week or so ago. It was very productive. He was very helpful. So we're really in process to get pins dropped on the map with then identifying information. And then if you hit the pin, you'll be able to read something about each one of those green infrastructure locations. My thought is we don't want to put 50, it'll get too confusing. But so we're working on that.
And I just wanted to ask if you have any language you'd like to see us use for categories of infrastructure, that if you could just send it to me, because I'm going to try and put all the things together for the webmaster to work with.
So you're talking about maybe evapotranspiration or infiltration or those type of
Yeah, and what's in-
categories?
Yeah, infiltration
Okay.
trench, rain gardens,
Oh, so
bioswale,
the
whatever.
different types.
Yeah, the types,
Yeah.
the
Okay.
categories.
All right.
And I will send you, well, I don't know, Shelley, did that list go to everybody or just communication? It went to everybody?
Can you send it to me again? Because I don't remember seeing it.
No, I think I only sent it to the communications
Yeah.
committee.
And then, Ann, I'll send you what of that list, the ones I thought we might distill it down to initially.
Yeah, I looked at that. I thought that was those were good choices
Okay.
and
I'll
a
send-
good number. Yeah.
I'll forward that to you, Ann.
Okay.
And then you can kind of contribute what you have time or you're interested in contributing.
Okay.
We just want to move with something. We can always make it better.
Yeah, I mean, it's communications.
You don't have
committee
time.
decided that to just kind of do it among ourselves, since we're meeting every couple of weeks, and we should just go ahead and do it.
Okay. And then we'll maybe update with photos later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the,
So you will just have a place for the photos and then to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah, if you have them there, just send them. But if you don't, we can add them later.
Okay.
And
All right.
your idea of using an infographic, I think, was great, and we're just feeling that we just keep kind of going around and don't get off square one. So
Sure.
we're just gonna go, and it'll be what it is. Just like with the brochure, we created a draft, and it was really useful. It was definitely a beta version. I mean, it was good, but but it was something much better than having nothing. Much better. And now,
Right. It keeps it moving forward. Right.
yeah, and then so two other things, and I think Carly, in the process of conversation, brought up. Well, we got talking about culturally responsive communication, and Carly has identified I guess he's an academic in Philadelphia who does these kinds of sessions. I won't go into the details, but we're getting information from this person, and maybe that'll be a separate agenda item Kathy will come up with separately, or I can talk about it now. But the last thing, this relates to the whole idea of how do we reach people, and somehow out of one of our meeting conversations, Stephen, who happens to also be on the board, I believe, of Reading Recreation, and has a good relationship with Daphne, has been having a series of conversations about events that they hold around the city at different times of the year. One of which is is it the Wacky Wednesday? I think we kind of thought that made the most sense. But anyway, where a lot of kids and their parents show up either weekly or on a monthly basis. And so we're having in the meeting, in our meetings, we're moving along a discussion about when and how we're going to participate in one of those events or multiple events, because they're around the city, but at least start with one and see how that goes. But Stephen's been communicating with Daphne about that, and I think we all collectively latched onto that as something that really might, similar to going to churches. It's going out to where people in the community are, and it will provide us an opportunity to talk to maybe quite a mixture of people who participate in Reading Rec all over the city. So that, I think, there's plenty more I could say, but I think that summarizes all the stuff we're talking about. Any questions? Kathy, how do you want to handle the culturally responsive communication? We're going to try and talk about that today. Is that
Okay, we can briefly, yeah. I don't see it on the agenda. Shelley, you didn't get a chance. Okay, so both last year we talked about board development issues, and one of them being very sensitivity training, inclusiveness training, those sorts of things that a lot of boards are doing. the communications committee thinks we could recommend that we perhaps do, for our purposes, more cultural sensitivity training in our language and our communications. And so and Carly knows this gentleman, and I wanted to see if the board as a whole, I mean, the council as a whole would like us to pursue seeing if he could do a session for us and with us about culturally sensitive communications. So what's people's thought?
So just so I'm clear on this is, and I think Bill addressed this already, the goal of this is to rectify, I guess, what we perceive to be a problem and how we are communicating our message
Yeah,
to various community groups. Is that the intent of the program?
I wouldn't say it has to do with dealing with perception. I would say maybe, I mean, I think it has to do with the issue itself.
Or the reality of.
Yeah, the reality, yeah.
Simply not reaching, from my perspective, it might be perception, but, for others, it might be, they're simply not getting the message because we're not communicating in a way, communicating it in a way that they are able or willing to listen to and to be a part of.
Yeah. And I would say, Dave, from my perspective, it may be the case, it may not be the case. But I think with a little bit of investment in time, I don't know that, I'm pretty certain we wouldn't lose anything. It may be helpful. We may all go, well, I mean, we've just been told everything we already know. I doubt that that's the case, but kind of how I feel about climate change. We may be wrong. Maybe it's not man-made, but it's a good gamble that we should try to do something about it. That's kind of how I feel about this. And it was raised, it was raised with a fair amount of, I don't want to say aggressiveness, but passion by one of the interns we had last year. And Kathy and I specifically said, okay, well, we will commit to this. And it came up in conversation in our committee meeting when we were, Stephanie had drafted a paragraph, it was a suggestion of a way that perspective we should take when we were involved in public meetings and stuff that didn't quite hit this, but that's what triggered this conversation. And I think our position is we would like to make it available to all of us. No one's going to be required to participate.
Right.
I think the communications committee will. We're hoping other people will, but we sort of need the blessing of the board, of the commission, council, of the council. And I think there's going to be some funds involved. So that's the other part of it. I think first of all is saying, yes, this is a good idea. Go ahead and schedule it. I'm blanking on the person's name, but Carly can remind us. He said that.
Yeah, Shelley sent out an email describing this to everybody, but it was just yesterday. So people may not have had a chance to think and absorb it.
That may have just gone to the communications committee.
No, she did send it out to everyone. And one of the concerns I have, and Bill, you've addressed those concerns, the way the proposal read, I didn't see a tie-in with our mission. But you've clarified that, and from my perspective, I no longer have an issue with that. I think I can see where it could provide some real benefit.
I will say in terms of our mission, I mean, in the resolution that council passed, not that that's us, but there's a paragraph that addresses this directly, that the process and inclusion, I mean, that's the whole notion. It's kind of related to environmental justice, but that the process is as important as the results, and it's kind of all part of that. I mean, I firmly believe that the way we go about this has an impact on where we'll end up.
I think it's a great idea, and could be really beneficial for our group, and environmental issues and concerns are directly tied to cultural and socioeconomic concerns, and there's deep-rooted problems that exist in the environment and in environmental equity because of cultural and implicit biases that are held and systemic oppression. So I think that it is a good topic that we should receive trainings on. I think it's great.
Yeah, and since we've gotten the benefit of some, by adding some young people to our communication staff of helping to think about how other generations, younger than we are, than most of us anyway, are thinking about things and communication styles and communication mechanisms and forums. But the other big thing we need to break through is the Latino cultural differences and experiences. And I think that will help us to think of types of communication, places to communicate, vehicles for communication and so forth that we haven't explored entirely yet or haven't tried, especially as we go forward trying to get this climate action work moving, having conversations all throughout the city. So that's
Right,
why.
and I think it's especially prudent, just given that we're putting so much focus right now on trying to expand our outreach and reach out to more people, just in every way to make sure that we're doing that in a way that's culturally appropriate. And of course, Reading is a majority Latino, Latinx city, like maybe almost 70%. So I think it's really also prudent for that
66%.
to be considered a forefront, maybe even, like communications, Instagram, things like that. Things have to be bilingual from the get-go,
Mhm. Well, I mean, I think the telling thing is I don't quite know how old Jim is, but everybody under 50, definitely everybody under 4, definitely everybody under 30 that's involved in this process is supportive of this. So I think just and then just to clarify one other thing is, and both Shelley and Carly. So there's 6 one-hour sessions in that email. We don't have, we could start with one. I don't think we're committing to the whole batch. Figure out which one we think makes the most sense to start with, and then kind of see how we feel and feel if it's worthwhile. And not all of us have to participate in, if we eventually do all 6, we don't all have to participate in all 6. But Carly made a good pitch for this guy. I'm sorry, it's Hassad. I'm missing his last name, Ahmad, I think. Anyway, so the commitment is so we have the list. The titles sort of speak for themselves. We're waiting for an idea of what the cost is, so we can't really act on that, or we can act on it now and say, approval to go ahead, if with some limit on what the cost would be. I don't know. I mean, I don't.
Yeah. Would you like to make a motion like that, Bill? And then we could.
Yeah.
I think that's
anybody? Yeah. Does anybody else have any comments? Any questions?
From David and Sarah and Jim.
Mm-hmm.
Stephen, what do you think?
I think it's a great idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it just would boil down to, the cost, but not, one of these sessions would do a lot of good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, we still, we have our entire budget still there for us for this year. The interns have been paid out of last year's budget. So
that's right.
All right, so I let me see, there's some other comments in the chat. Okay. I will propose that we go ahead and contract with Carly. What's his name? I'm sorry.
It's Hudson.
It just jumped off.
Oh.
Hassani Hudson.
Oh, Hassani Hudson. Okay. Okay. I don't know. Anyway. Okay, so it's Hassani Hudson to do one of these sessions. I mean, I guess we could put in the proposal, say 1 to 6, and we can decide after the first one how many we want to do. so we don't have to wait for another meeting again to schedule another session and subject to finding out what the cost is. Now, I don't know. Do we have a feeling for what an upset number would be? I have no idea. Carly, do you have any idea what he charges? I mean, are we talking $100, $1,000? What?
Carly's not on the call anymore. If you'd
Yeah.
like, I will reach out to him and see what the cost is.
Okay.
Do you want to say, we could go ahead to get at least one session if it's less than $500?
Yeah, should we do that? Yeah.
Is that okay with everybody? Well,
Yeah.
let's do put that in the motion and then we vote.
Yeah, so let's go. Well, one session, not to exceed 500. Shelley?
We need a second. Don't vote yet.
No, I'm just reiterating
Yep.
what.
I'll
Thank you,
second.
Stephen.
I'm gonna say one session, not to exceed 500.
I think she was referring to the time increment and not the Roberts rule. And she said she needed a second.
Right, okay. Did somebody second?
Yeah, I did.
Stephen seconded, yep. So any further discussion about it, about the motion? Anne, do you have discussion?
No, I'm fine with it. Sounds good.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Nay? All right, the motion carries and we'll direct the Communications Committee Chair, Bill, to go, check with Carly and go forward and see what we can get a first one set up for those that would like to participate.
So just one related question. Do we want to open it up to anyone else? Since we're going to have this session, do we want to make it available to, I don't know, Desi and David, other people that we're starting to communicate with? And maybe that's something we could think, we'll talk about that in the Communications Committee. It occurred to me.
Yeah, that's a detail I think that
Okay.
we can
I can't
handle.
imagine nobody's going to be opposed to that, so.
No, okay. I think we need to move on. We jumped ahead, but that's fine. Are there any other, did I skip any staff updates? Scott, do you have one for us today?
Did you get a drink? Chug some water? Okay, you ready? You feel good? You feel
Really
energized?
at this time. I'm actually off right now, so
Okay,
but I jump on and try to stay in touch with what's going on with you guys.
okay.
So,
Thank you. That's fine. Appreciate the input. Right, so I guess we're on old business then. Oh, no, we want to do a webpage review.
Kathy, I still have staff update.
Oh. Okay,
And we're getting close to 1:30.
Yeah, that's why I want to I have a bunch of dates. To
okay.
run
Let's
through.
Is there anything critical that someone else wanted to share at this meeting? I apologize for not controlling the meeting well at all, but I think it was useful things that we did do.
Just a reminder, we have a Brownfields database Zoom meeting scheduled for Thursday at 11. Kathy, me,
Yeah.
Shelley, Jim Sinelli from Liberty Environmental, and Deb Millman from the Greater Berks Development Fund. And Shelley needs to be done by 11:45. I don't think it's going to take 45 minutes. I think within a half an hour, we should be good to go.
Great. Thank you, David. Anything else before we get to Bethany's update? Okay, well, let's go with Bethany's update then.
Okay. Upcoming dates, April 11th at Berks Nature at 10:30 is the Pennsylvania DEP Climate Action Planning meeting. This is for the state plan, and of course, I'll be taking copious notes for ours. April 19th, Alvernia.
Oh, I just wanted to say you have to register for that. I have registered.
And Shelley has sent out the link. If you need the link again, I will, either Shelley or I can send it to you. April 19th, Alvernia is doing a leadership and sustainability conference. It is free to the community. It's called Because You Matter. Some of the sessions include solving wicked problems. But I am going to be part of, I think it's the 4 o'clock session, talking about collaboration in developing land reuse projects with Berks Nature and a couple other people. So if you're able to take some time during that day, it's a Wednesday, I can send out the registration link for that. Also, then we have, of course, Earth Day on April 22nd. The week after, we are hosting the We Can Serve PA Land Conference. I am willing to book tickets for the plenary breakfast for city staff members and board members, council members. The plenary breakfast this year is focusing on climate change, and Dr. Michael Mann is the keynote speaker. I need to have, if I could have people who would like tickets by next week, that would be great.
What's the date of that?
That's going to be April 27th. And I believe the breakfast is at 7:30 or 8, and I believe he's speaking at 9. I don't have it in front of me though.
Okay. Bethany, I'm not going to be here, but if you could send that to me, I'd like to forward that to a few people who might be
I can
interested.
send you the information on the conference, yes.
Yeah, great.
And then something that has been working behind the scenes between all of the water utility entities, RAWA, stormwater, wastewater. The city, along with RAWA, has joined the Water Alliance, which is a national group of water utilities working on all kinds of issues. And we are part of the Water Equity Work Group with several other cities in the Delaware River Basin, including Philadelphia, Allentown, Camden, and Trenton, New Jersey. We are going to be kicking off our internal Reading work group formally on May 9th. I am looking for a member of the EAC to join.
I would like
A
to,
hands up from Kathy.
yep.
Okay. I will forward you the information. And that is those updates of upcoming events.
What about
Sarah's going to the CAP meeting. Yay.
the Sustainable Business Roundtable? Is that still happening, or is that?
Yeah, so that is April 6th. I do have a link. I can probably pull that up really quick. If you have anybody who might be interested,
Can you just send it out to us?
yeah, I'll send it out to everybody. I think we have 5 people signed up already, so that's awesome. This is like going into a whole other group of people that I'm not used to working with. So,
Good.
So,
we were hoping, if we got 2, that was going to be a win for us.
so Bethany, you didn't include that in your list. Would you prefer or discourage or encourage members of the EAC to attend? Yeah.
If one of you want to come, that would be fine. We're going to be really focusing on in this roundtable, it is going to be focusing on energy efficiency resources.
In like the med ed programs or?
Everything from med ed programs to getting support from college students to doing designs with PenTap, to getting in on doing a larger scale I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Into getting into CPACE. So, how to like who to call for help. So that way you can take your idea to fruition. And then I'm also going to ask them, okay, what else would you like me to get resources for you with? Almost like making a little mini manufacturer sustainability cohort in the city, and getting them talking to each other as well. So, and we're doing that with MedEd, PenTap, Penn State Sustainable Communities, and the Sustainable Energy Fund, who is the program manager for CPACE.
Okay, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Hang on. Yep.
Lots of things.
Okay. Think we're up against the time. I'll ask everybody to do a little homework since we didn't get to it today, but please look before our next meeting, please look at our landing page, the EAC webpage, so that if you put in EAC, Reading Environmental Advisory Council, and you click on it, that's where it'll take you to boards and commissions, and then you click on EAC, and then there's our page. And I'd like you to look at it to see if you think about how well it conveys what we have as priorities and what we're about, and also whether you think it's easy to find things, or if you knew you wanted to find out about, say, the energy commitment of the city and the resolution. Is it easy to find, or can we think of? Do we want to reorganize it? Do we want to get some of it updated or change? Add some add categories, take some things off, or create categories. And by that I mean, like, we've got 5 or 6 different ordinances listed separately. Do we want to have a section that says ordinances and then have it on? So just things that you can think of now that we've got more stuff on it, that could be better organized, or things that are missing, whether it's too much or too little and that sort of thing. I was going to have us look at it together, because I know what happens is we all say we're going to, and I, for one, hadn't looked at the page in a year, probably, or 2 years. I hadn't realized how much every time we ask Shelley to put something on our website, now we've got this big long list of things because she put something on she put the button on, but I'm not sure it's now as well designed as it could be. Still within, it has to look like a city website, but the webmaster can tell us what we can do. But I'd like everybody to look at it and think about. Okay, so Shelley said anything in gray in the EAC menu area can be reorganized. The other items have to stay the same. That's helpful. So just think about what we could do to make it better. Because we're trying to get people to go to other places. from our website too, so. Because we want to do that kind of cross-fertilization that Carly was talking about and that others were talking about of, we'll put your things up, you put our things up, share with your network of people. Anything else for the good of the order before we sign off? Okay, hearing none, I think it's 1:30 and we are adjourned. Thank you all. Our next meeting is, as usual, on the 4th Tuesday at this time. So that's, I don't know what the date is. I don't have.
25th.
Thank you. So April 25th, have a lovely Easter. See you all. I will send out an email about participation in our Earth Day celebration in our at our table. And hopefully I'll see you there.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a great day, everyone.
All right, everybody, take care.
Bye-bye.